Greetings YouTube, Eddie here. So buckle up, it's gonna be a long video. I got my water, got my coffee. I have discovered my love for oat milk in my coffee drinks. It's yummy. So today I'm gonna be bringing you guys my ultimate 2021 reading wrap up. And I decided to do this right now before the end of December because I'm not going to push myself to finish any more books this year because I just want to relax. This year has been really eventful. A lot of new COVID variants and COVID vaccines. I managed to go back to my original job to help close it down. Then I got a job at Barnes & Noble, left Barnes & Noble, and now I have a new job. And in all of that, I have read 58 stories. Granted, a handful of them I listened to. I just feel very proud of myself because I haven't read this much in so long. And last year I read, I think, maybe 12 or 13 books. This year I just devoured 58 stories and I'm so proud of myself for that. I have read, looking at my whiteboard up there, I have finished 5 series this year. And I have never done that before. So I'm literally over the moon excited for this wrap up and just to go over all the stories that I listened to. I will put the chapter times for each month down below for you guys, so whether you just want to skip ahead to like July or September or whatever. So anyways, let's get right into it, starting with January, obviously. So starting with January, the first book that I'm counting, I didn't count it in my original one, in my original January wrap-up or my mid-year wrap-up that I did in June, which, by the way, all the book reviews that I have and all my wrap-ups that I've done are going to be down below for you guys to check out as well. But because there are so many books, I'm not going to spend too much time on, story and blah, blah, blah. I'll just give the rating and a brief description of why I gave it that rating. So the first one I have is Heartless by Marissa Meyer. I finished this December 30th. I'm just going to count it this year just because I can. This one is Alice in Wonderland prequel retelling kind of thing. And I gave this one a 4 out of 5. I really like this story. It ended just when the story was getting really good. I do recommend it though. I have not finished Gilded yet. I'm having a hard time getting into it, unfortunately. The first 40 pages are excellent, but after that it's just... So, But I'll talk about that when I finish it. Probably will not be this year. Next is The Young Elites by Maria Lu. This is the first book of the Young Elite series. This is a dystopian fantasy book. I gave this one a 3 out of 5. I liked the writing. I liked the setting. I liked the lore of, the Malfetos and, the powers and whatever. But I don't really like the characters all that much, except for maybe a couple of them. 3 out of 5 for this one. I started to read The Rose Society, but it wasn't grasping me. But I will finish the series maybe next year. Alright, then I continued with the Ghosts of the Shadow Market series, or the Ghosts of the Shadow Market stories. So this one is Through Blood, Through Fire. This is by Cassandra Clare and Robin Wasserman. That is a hard name to say. And I listened to all of the short stories, both from Ghost of the Shadow Market and also Welcome to Shadowhunter Academy. This one was narrated by Candace King. And I gave this one a 4 out of 5. I love Jem and Tessa. I actually prefer them over Will and Tessa. Sorry, not sorry. Then, Trials of Apollo, Hidden Oracle, Book 1 by Rick Riordan. This one's a 5 out of 5. This is the 5th Percy Jackson book series, or 5th series set in the Percy Jackson world, I think. If you want to count the Kane Chronicles, because I think that's set in the Percy Jackson world, but I don't know for sure. So, this one is installment, let's say that, in the Percy Jackson world. This is a 5 out of 5. This was so much fun to read. I loved the narration. I love Apollo. Lester Papadopoulos. He was so funny. I love his friendship with Meg. I love going back to Camp Half-Blood and seeing all the familiar characters like Nico. Oh my god, it was amazing. So like I said, 5 out of 5. And then another series I started this year was the Dark Artifices trilogy, starting with Lady Midnight by Cassandra Clare. This takes place 5 years after the Mortal Instruments in Los Angeles, California. I give this one a 4 out of 5. I love the writing. I love all the characters and the setting and the story. But I saw the twist coming. I saw the plot twist. Literally halfway through the book, I'm like, oh, I know who it is. And it was not because I was spoiled. I wasn't even spoiled for this series, surprisingly. Thank God for that. Ian and Emma, I just didn't get them in this book. But then I understood it in the second book, which I'll talk about in just a second. Lady Midnight, 4 out of 5. And Lord of Shadows, I gave it a 5 out of 5. I This is my favorite book of the trilogy. I love this book, and this is the only book of the trilogy that I understood their relationship. I love this book. The ending literally destroyed me. And I talked more about this in my review of Lord of Shadows. And yeah, this is my favorite book of the series, and this is probably my favorite book of the month. All right, then we get into February. I only listened to one Shadowhunter story and read one Shadowhunter book. The Shadowhunter story was The Land I Lost by Sarah Reese Brennan and Cassandra Clare. This was narrated by Melissa Fumero. This is the 7th story in the Ghost of the Shadow Market series or collection. So I liked this story, but it wasn't my favorite, and I can't remember why I rated it a 4 out of 5. But I have a wrap up where I talked about this, so down below, like I said. And then the one Shadowhunter book is, you guys probably take a guess, is Queen of Air and Darkness, the final book of the Dark Artifices series. And this one is 3 out of 5. This one is the first time where Cassandra Clare has disappointed me in a final book. First off, the book is almost 1,000 pages long. Exaggeration. It's like 880 pages or something like that. There were some parts of it that I liked and some parts of it I didn't like. The only thing that I loved in the story was Kit Haredale and Ty Blackthorn's relationship, friendship development. If they don't get together in the Wicked Powers, I'm gonna be pissed. Like, pissed. Alright, and then March, 7 short stories and only read 2 books. So the first one that I listened to was A Deeper Love by Cassandra Clare and Morgan Johnson. And it's narrated by Kiersey Clemens. I gave this one a 4 out of 5 stars as well. I liked this one. I really, really did. And then the last 2 Ghosts of the Shadow Market stories I read because they weren't available to listen to, unfortunately. These 2 are both set right after the Dark Artifices. The first one is The Lost World, and the other one is Forever Fallen. I gave The Lost World 3 out of 5, and I gave Forever Fallen 4 out of 5. And then I started the Welcome to Shadowhunter Academy collection. So the first one is obviously Welcome to Shadowhunter Academy, and this follows Simon's story in the Shadowhunter Academy. And I like this one. This one I gave a 5 out of 5. Sorry, I'm looking at my whiteboard up there, so I apologize for doing this so often. I like this story. Just being back into Simon Lewis's head, and I should have listened to these stories before reading The Dark Artifices, because I got so confused. Like, when did Simon change his name to Simon Lovelace, and where did these 2 kids for Alec and Magnus come from? Like, what happened, you know? And then the other one is Lost Herondale. This one was a 4 out of 5. This one was narrated by Jack Falahy, who played Connor on How to Get Away with Murder. And then the other one is The Whitechapel Fiend, obviously about Jack the Ripper. This one was a 4 out of 5 as well. Anything with Jack the Ripper I'm going to really enjoy. For some reason, I know it's a weird, twisted thing to be obsessed with, but anything with Jack the Ripper, like there's a book right here called Stalking Jack the Ripper, which I'll be reading next year. But yeah, so I really enjoyed the fact that Jack the Ripper was used in the Shadowhunter world lore. I think it worked really well. The last Shadowhunter Academy short story, also the last Shadowhunter story that I read this month, was Nothing But Shadows. And this was my favorite, actually. I really like this one. This is my favorite of the month of March. And yeah, so I really like this one. Like I said, I forgot what happened because I read it so early in the year. Continue with the Trials of Apollo series, starting with The Dark Prophecy. And this one's a 3 out of 5. I was so uninterested with the story. This is the first time that a Rick Riordan novel literally bored me. And I'm very upset about it. Because I love Rick Riordan and I love the Percy Jackson world. But I just don't like Dark Prophecy. So needless to say, this is my least favorite of the series. And then the other one was The Burning Maze, which not only does that have my favorite cover, it has one of my favorite stories in the series as well. This one was loads better than The Dark Prophecy. 4 out of 5 stars. And then for April, one is The Evil We Love. This is the 5th story. Yeah, I think this is the 5th story of the Shadowhunter Academy collection. This one was narrated by Chris Wood, who played Mon-El on Supergirl. The Evil We Love, I gave a 3 out of 5 stars. I remember learning about Valentine and that kind of stuff, but other than that, I was disconnected from the story. You know, I like learning about Valentine's backstory and how he became a Shadowhunter, his time at Shadowhunter Academy, and how he became the evil bastard that we all know and slightly like. Alright, and then the next one is Pale Kings and Princes. This was narrated by Ki Hong Lee, who played Minho in Maze Runner. In this one, we follow a Blackthorn family member. We follow Andrew. And I don't remember exactly why I rated this 4 out of 5 stars. Being very repetitive, I'm sorry. But to my recollection, I liked the narration, I liked the writing, I liked Andrew, but I don't really remember what else I liked about it. Okay, then we get to my favorite story of the month, and that was Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. I loved this story so much. It was so fucking good. I read it, I think, before I watched Shadow and Bone, the television series, which highly recommended. It was so good. So Six of Crows, such a beautiful novel. I loved Kaz and Inej and Jesper. Oh my god, I wish I could marry Jesper. And then we get into May, and of course I continued with the Six of Crows duology, and I continued with Crooked Kingdom. This was such a good story as well. It was so well written. Just how the story went, the character interactions, and you guys know I love the Grisha trilogy. The Six of Crows duology is so much better than the Grisha trilogy. And the next book that I read was One of Us is Lying by Karen M. McMinnis. This is one of my favorites of the year. This is Breakfast Club meets Murder. Turned to a television series. Television series is okay, for me at least. I might do a follow-up video to that. I forgot what I rated the TV show, but I know I gave the book 5 out of 5. It was so good. Then I read the sequel, One of Us is Next, and I did not love this one as much as One of Us is Lying, unfortunately. It was good. The only character that I really connected with was Knox. I didn't really connect to Phoebe or Maeve. I didn't find this mystery all that engaging, unfortunately. It was nice being back at Bayview High and seeing, characters of, Bronwyn and Addie and Cooper and Nate. The new characters like Maeve, I mean, we were introduced to Maeve in the first book. Didn't find Maeve all that engaging. Didn't find Phoebe all that fun to read. Knox was pretty okay to read, but other than that, I just didn't like the story. And then the short story that I listened to was Bitter of Tongue, which was another story set in the Shadowhunter Academy collection. This one I gave 4 out of 5. Okay, so we get to see more of the Dark Artifices characters, namely Mark. I like seeing the Dark Artifices characters back, but I don't exactly remember why I gave this one a 4 out of 5. On Goodreads, I gave it a 3.5, but I'm trying to stop doing the 3.5 or 4.5 or 2.5, whatever. I like this story. I've grown to love Mark. I really have, but other than that, can't say I remember much of the story. Alright, then we get into June, which started off with Red Scrolls of Magic by Cassandra Clare and Wesley Chu, the first book of the Eldest Curses series, which followed Alec and Magnus's adventures. This is during City of Fallen Angels, I think, and I just don't know how to rate this book. This is the first book that I've read in my history of reading where I don't know what to rate it. I don't know if I should give it a low rating, medium rating, high rating. I just don't know how to feel about this book. It's a good story, but there was something about it that just didn't feel like it was Shadowhunters. I liked it, didn't love it, but I didn't hate it. I'm just in the middle, so I don't know how to rate this book. Alright, then I continued with the Shadowhunter Academy short stories. Like I said, with the Fiery Trial. This one was good. I gave this one a 5 out of 5. I really like this one. I think this is where we saw Emma and Julian's Parabatai ceremony, I think, which was really, really interesting to read. Then Born to Endless Night, which was so freaking awesome. It was another 5 out of 5. This is probably my favorite short story. This one was so good. Finally get to meet the warlock son of Alec and Magnus, Max. My god, he's so freaking cute. He is so cute. I love Max, and I'm really glad that I listened to the story. And then the final Shadowhunter Academy short story was Angels Twice Descending, which is obviously the like I said, the final book or the final story, and this is Simon Lewis's final adventure at the Academy, in which he becomes a Shadowhunter. This is a 5 out of 5. This is narrated by Brett Dalton, who played Ward on S.H.I.E.L.D. I love this story. This is such a great ending. And now I finally understand why Simon changed his name to Simon Lovelace. And then the final book that I read for the month of June was Warcross by Marie Lu. This was the first book of her new duology, in which is like a Ready Player One-esque. We follow a bounty hunter who hacks herself into Warcross, and she thinks that she's getting into trouble, but she becomes hero of the story, I guess. And a 4 out of 5. I have a blog post review of this book down below. All this book really made me do was want to suit up as Wonder Woman or Scorpion and kick some ass. Fortunately, I can't do that. July is where I really turned up my reading. I read 12 books in July. I have probably my favorite wrap-up video of mine was July. So I started with Wildcard by Marie Lu. This was the final book of the Warcross duology, and I didn't love this one. I gave this one a 3 out of 5. It was fine. The lead character was fine. We got to meet a new character named Jax, who I just don't really like at all. The world building in Warcross was a lot better than the world building in Wildcard, and I just didn't like how this story ended. I didn't like where it went. I'm not really a fan of this duology. The writing and the action sequences are amazing, but other than that, it just wasn't my cup of tea, unfortunately. Then we have my most disappointing book of the month, which was I Know What You Did Last Summer by Lois Duncan. 2 out of 5. Don't want to spend too much time about this. It was fine, but I just didn't like the mystery, didn't like the characters, didn't like the writing. I just didn't like it, fortunately, and I haven't seen the movie yet. Then I read Karen M. McManus's other novel, Two Can Keep a Secret, which is not a continuation of One of Us is Lying, even though the covers of all of her covers are very similar, but this is not a continuation of One of Us is Lying. I really liked this one. I gave it a 4 out of 5. It was a good mystery. I really liked the main character of Malcolm. I hated Ellery. I did not like Ellery at all. I preferred her twin brother, whose name I'm blanking on right now. The setting of Echo Ridge was so good. It was so good. The writing, of course, is great. There was a character plot twist, and I just didn't believe it. It just didn't make any sense to me. So, yeah. This one was probably another forgettable book. And then I finished the Trials of Apollo series with The Tyrant's Tomb, which is the 4th book. I give this one a 4 out of 5. I really enjoyed this story. With a lot of references in here, especially to the Wakanda Forever. It was so funny. And I really liked the development of, Meg's character and Apollo's character. I really enjoyed this story. Then we get to Tower of Nero, which is so good. It was so good. Such a great conclusion to the series. And it was heartbreaking as well, because knowing this is the final Percy Jackson related book, to my knowledge, it was a really well written final book, but it was just so heartbreaking because I want more Percy Jackson. Then I read a palate cleanser novel, Charming as a Verb by Ben Philippe. This is a contemporary YA. This was just a really sweet little story. Set in New York. Henry was a really annoying character. Corinne, his love interest, was a really interesting character as well. And then, as most contemporary novels go, there is a lesson to be learned, and the lesson to be learned in this book was a good lesson. I highly recommend this as like a summer read. It was really good. And then the other series that I read this year was the Magisterium series, which disappointed me, unfortunately. So this is a Harry Potter-esque novel. We follow Callum going to the Magisterium, which is a school where he can learn magic and whatever. I just did not like this series at all. She wrote it with Holly Black, which should not have been a thing because their writing styles do not mesh together. This series could have been written by Holly Black, and that would have been good. I feel like Cassandra Clare's writing is not made for middle grade readers. As far as characters, Callum is probably the worst character in this series, in my opinion, which sucks because Callum is the main character, so I should like him, right? But I don't. Aaron is my favorite. Master Rufus is literally utterly Master useless. He was so useless in this book. Havoc, being the chaos-ridden wolf, was amazing. Tamara was fine. I'm trying to think of the other characters. Celia, I think was her name. She was also okay. Jasper was growing on me. Callum never really grew on me. I mean, I liked some of his moments, but other than that, I just didn't like the story. Also, the books are super short. I'm looking at them right now. They're super short. I feel like the books can be longer, but it just didn't do a thing for me, unfortunately. So I gave Iron Trial 3.5 out of 5. I gave Copper Gauntlet 3 out of 5. Bronze Key 2 out of 5. Silver Mask 3 out of 5. And The Golden Tower 3 out of 5. I'm very upset that I didn't like this series because I had such high hopes. And then the final book that I read for the month of July was Chain of Gold, which is the first book of the Last Hour series. This was so good. It brought all my Shadowhunter love back into the world. I love Cordelia. I love James. I love Lucy. Matthew. Oh my god. It was just so good. And I can't wait to continue with Chain of Iron. But Chain of Gold was beautiful. And Chain of Thorns, which is the last book, is set to be released next November. I'm so excited. I'm so excited. If there's one thing about the Shadowhunter book series that I like, I prefer them set in the past. I love the Mortal Instruments, and I really enjoy the Dark Artifices, but the Infernal Devices and the Last Hours, their settings definitely work better with the story, in my opinion. By the way, I don't know if I said it, but Chain of Gold got a 4.5 out of 5 for me. Then we get into August, which was a really hard month for me because we had COVID in the house. Wasn't fun at all. And we're all doing better, so thank God for that. So the first book that I read was The Cousins by Karen M. McManus. This one's in my opinion, her worst novel because I just don't really like the character. I didn't find the mystery all that well crafted. The writing was fine. The characters of Millie and Aubrey and Jonah, not Jonas, Jonah. Oh my god, is his name Jonah? I'm blanking. God damn it. All of my videos that I talk about the cousins, I said Jonas. Jonah, okay. In my review, my August wrap-up, I said Jonas. It's Jonah, not Jonas. I apologize. Millie was probably the only character that I liked. And Aubrey and Jonah, they just got on my nerves. I don't know, Gull Cove was a good setting, but I just didn't think the secrets, the mysteries was all that well crafted in my opinion. But I still have high hopes for all of her mystery novels. And by the way, I gave this one a 3 out of 5. Then I read a debut novel. It was called Fresh by Margaret Wood, who, you guys know, she was part of the Epic Reads YouTube channel and Harper Teen, all that kind of fun jazz. And then she moved to Portland, and it was just so good. It was a Emma retelling. Our main character was so much fun. She broke the fourth wall, which was just so hysterical. Some of the one-liners are definitely some of the best one-liners I've ever read. And this one's a 5 out of 5. It was just so funny. It was just so, so good. And I cannot wait to read Margaret Wood's future novels. Favorite book of the month, probably one of my favorite books of the year, is Jay's Gay Agenda by Jason June. It was a beautiful novel. I know not everybody likes it on Goodreads. It has a 3.6 out of 5 or whatever. I don't really care about that because Jay's Gay Agenda was just so beautiful. I just loved it so much, and I cannot wait to read his other novel, Out of the Blue, I think is what it's called. I can't wait. I love Jay's Gay Agenda, 5 out of 5. And then we get into September. I read 4 novels, starting with A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J. Maas, which I'm surprised that I actually got through and managed to read 3 other books. It was ginormous. I don't know if you can see. No, you can't see. It's ginormous. I have a review about this. My review is Scattered Brain, which is, you know, to be expected after reading Court of Mist and Fury. It was fine. Feyre became a different character. Tamlin got on my last nerves. Rhysand was honestly one of the better characters in this book. The sex scenes were really unnecessary to me. Sarah J. Maas can really write a scene, and she does a really good job setting scenes up, but I don't know. This book, I gave it a 4 out of 5, but I had to be specific, like 3.5 out of 5. What did I say on Goodreads? What was my rating on Goodreads? Okay, so one of the things that I said was it had so much filler in it just like Lady Midnight. And just the sex scenes were just so unnecessary to me. And I have a whole review about this and wrap up, like I said, down below. Check it out. I don't know what else I can say about this. That's literally all I can say about this. So just check out the review. If you have any questions or if you have any comments about it, let me know down below. Next, I read Billy Boyle, which is a historical fiction novel. This is by James R. Ben. And this one was really, really good. I gave it a 4 out of 5. It ended, again, where it was just getting good. And I had the other 2 novels. They are right behind me, right there. So I can't wait to get into those books. If anything's set in World War II, I'm going to read it and love it. Well, love is, you know what I mean. Next is probably my favorite book of the month is The Hate U Give by Angie Thomas. It took me years to read this. I finally read it this past September. And I talked about this in my September wrap-up, like I said. It was really heartbreaking, and the writing is not poetic at all, but it doesn't have to be poetic to get its point across. And it was aggravating, and I knew where the story was going. There wasn't going to be a good ending. And it was heartbreaking, but that's the reality of it. And the film was just as heartbreaking, if not more heartbreaking. I don't know if that was correct English, but you know what I mean. So I give this one a 5 out of 5. The book that I read in September was Clown in a Cornfield. This one's a slasher, horror, thriller novel. I give this one a 4 out of 5. It was a lot of fun to read. I really liked it. I loved Quinn, our main character. The setting of Kettle Springs it felt like the traditional small town horror story, but it was a really well done story though. And then we get into October, where I only read 2 books, and they are probably the best 2 books that I've read this year. Good Girl's Guide to Murder and A Good Girl Bad Blood, both by Holly Jackson. This one is a YA crime mystery series, and it was so good. It was so much fun to read, and I don't know why, but I felt like I was actually solving the mystery with Pip, our main character. I had the 3rd book right over there, but I'm not going to force myself to, read it by the end of the year. If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Main character Pip is just so good. The writing is really great. The little interview clips and the little documents inside, it was just so well done, and I really enjoyed it. And then in November and in December, I've read graphic novels, a total of 6 graphic novels, and I have and these are from the DC world. If you guys have any Marvel graphic novels that you recommend, let me know down below. The first 2 that I read were the Injustice graphic novels, which was Year 1 and Year 2. I gave them both 4 out of 5. The artwork is good. The story is fine. But there was something about it that just right with me. I know Superman went batshit crazy in this story, but I just didn't like how he treated his other Justice Leaguers and all of the citizens of Earth. It's just really heartbreaking. Out of the 2, I think Year 2 is the better one out of the 2. But I will continue with the series. Then I read the Teen Titans graphic novel series by Cami Garcia. I read Teen Titans Raven, Teen Titans Beast Boy, and Teen Titans Beast Boy Loves Raven. I gave Raven I gave Raven 3 out of 5. I just don't like Raven's, and I'm talking about this book, I'm not talking about Raven as a whole. I just didn't like Raven's character in this story, and I really hate the generic black is my color or whatever typical goth outfit. I just didn't like that. And I started to read these graphic novels because Teen Titans is I started to rewatch Teen Titans and Teen Titans Go on HBO Max, and I fucking love Teen Titans. Teen Titans Go has its problems, but as a kid's show, it's fine. But as someone who grew up with the original Teen Titans, you did dirty. But I gave Teen Titans Raven 3 out of 5. Titans Beast Boy is the better of the 3. And I don't like that he's not green in the story. I just don't like that he's not green. I know this is super weird. I like the green hair that he has. I think that's fine. And I don't know anything about Beast Boy's origin story. I knew Raven's origin story. I knew Starfire's, Robin's, Cyborg's, but I don't know Beast Boy's. And learning about his backstory was really sad, really heartbreaking. And it kind of helped that when I was reading the dialogue, I used the voice actor's voice from Teen Titans for both Raven and Beast Boy. And also Robin, because he makes an appearance. Beast Boy loves Raven. Spoiler! Speaking of, I hate this one. This one was a 3 out of 5. I'm going to knock it down to 2. I did not like this one. I did not like how quickly Raven and Beast Boy became a couple. And as someone who ships Raven and Beast Boy, damn, my next phone, I already bought its phone case. I'm such a Raven Beast Boy shipper. I did not like the relationship in this story. I did not. It developed out of nowhere. I don't know where it started for them to start loving each other, and I just didn't like it. However, I will continue with this series because we're going to continue with Robin. I don't know when Robin's coming out, though. And then, so far in December, the only graphic novel that I read, or the only story that I read, was Starfire, Volume 1, Welcome Home. 1 of 3, I think. Yeah, I guess 1 of 3 out of 5. It was okay. I mean, Starfire must be protected at all costs. But, I don't know. There's something about this story that I didn't like. I had the other one. I forgot what it's called. I also have the Batman and Robin graphic novels over there. Like I said, if you guys have any Marvel graphic novels, let me know, because I want to get into more graphic novels or comics or whatever. I have some graphic novels in mind that I want to read. Like, I want to read Watchmen. I want to read Saga. I want to read Lock and Key. So, anyways, I say I had a pretty decent reading year. It was pretty good. You know, there were some disappointments, but overall, a lot of these stories are actually pretty great. My top 5, I would say, would be Lord of Shadows, Six of Crows, One of Us is Lying, Jay's Gay Agenda, and for the 5th one, Good Girl, Bad Blood. Those are my top 5 books of the year. And I do want to read more adult novels, and I'm not strictly just limiting myself to YA. I promise you, I want to read more adult novels. That's why I have a shit ton of adult books right behind me, both on this shelf and this shelf. My reading goal I set for 75 novels, and I think I did it pretty well. Anyways, that was my Ultimate 2021 wrap-up. If you guys enjoyed this video, big thumbs up and comment your thoughts of these stories. And if you guys have any recommendations for me for next year, let me know. For more content, subscribe button is right over here, right next to the notification bell. Go ahead and click that. 2 other videos are going to be right beside my head. Check those out. This side is going to be a playlist of wrap-ups and reviews and whatnot, so check those out. I hope you guys had a really great year. And if you guys have any reading goals, I hope you guys meet them, and I wish you the best of luck. And I'll see you guys in my next video. So, hail and farewell.